Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah. This was my first time on a mission trip in my entire life, and the second time out of the United States. So it was an experience. Um, so what made it special was getting to spend time with missionaries Hudson and Phoebe with their team members and what they do, seeing what they do, all of their ministries. Um, it gave me a rare look at the real life challenges and rewards that they faced because of their service. And to be honest, it was a really big um, educational crash course in my faith, their faith, exhaustion, and a lot of gratitude. This trip started basically right when we landed. We were all running on very little sleep, maybe 3 to 5 hours the first night before serving for the entire day, basically. We planned to serve over 50 or I guess 40 children the first day, but I guess because of God's grace and God's love that over 50 kids showed up. And it was in a country where we didn't understand the language or the culture, and the whole situation honestly felt very chaotic and very difficult. Just overall, I didn't know what to do, especially as my first time. But the second day didn't get much easier as well. We had planned for about 80 kids, and I think over 120 showed up. So we had to cut back on all of our planned crafts, adjust our schedule and timing so that we could kind of do things well. But we were struggling to communicate because of the thick language barrier, so it was really stressful, and we were worried about not having enough, not being able to do everything for the children. So we were all just super tired, stressed, but trying our best to manage the unexpected challenges. On Sunday, we visited the city called Garbage City that you guys saw in the video, but every street is crowded with trash, stray animals, cars, and people going down this really, really narrow road, which I think only fit like 1.5 cars. So it was really dangerous for us and all the people who live there, right? But also, I think this is where a lot of people got sick just because of the air quality and the trash in the air. But despite this, we are going further and further into the city, and at this end of the place, there's the Cave Church, and it's literally right into this trash city, which is kind of crazy, but it's kind of where Christianity first started in Egypt, aka Coptic Christians, right? And there's only 10% of Christianity in Egypt, and I think 90% of that 10% lives in this trash city. So it was very well kept, and it was actually just really sad to see all of the people who live in Trash City are the Christians, right? And okay, Jiwon told me that I might cry when I share my testimony, but I'm not gonna. So despite them living in literal garbage, they remained faithful, which was actually so crazy to me because I don't think I've ever had something so, like I never had that like desperation for Christ. And I realized, okay, well, hold on. I think I would have cursed out of why we were living in such a place while being so faithful to God, and being surrounded by people who are Islamic and a different religion, and getting hate from that religion, right? Because there's all of those religion differences. But because of their faith and God's vision of staying there, again, it showed a desperation for the Lord. For that same desperate faith, I witnessed that it was a very common theme throughout the entire mission trip, and it's very easy to focus on all of the bad things when you're tired and exhausted and hard to be grateful at those moments. But every night during our debrief, the other members, mission members, they helped me see the bigger picture. After the first couple of nights while we were stressed about the logistics and all the chaoticness, the kids were super, super, super happy. They were laughing, smiling, jumping, dancing with all of their heart, right? They were totally engaged, but they didn't know all the stress and hardships that we had to do behind the scenes. But again, yeah, it was just super chaotic. Had to do so much, but they were just thankful that we were even there because it meant that they were going to have fun. They were going to take all of the crafts and the stuff that we brought. They get to take it home, and at the end result, they were getting fed, like food, right? And that's just not something that we ever have to think about. In the United States, it's like not that big of a problem. I mean, okay, well, hold on. But their joy taught me that it wasn't about whether we finished every craft or stuck to the schedule, but it was about the love and the attention that we gave them. It was a beautiful sincerity in their hearts and in their happiness. It wasn't a casual joy, but again, came from the desperation, God's protection and provision in their lives. So another focus that we kind of did was Hudson's mission is also to serve the Sudanese refugees who fled from Sudan, came to Egypt because of all of the conflict and the war kind of that's going on. And so, again, like you saw, we went and delivered food for them, all the families. We visited their homes where they're staying. And hearing their stories was a really big part as well. Because many of them are Christian families, but they're facing incredible hardships and living with little to no money, crammed in small apartments with like 10 plus people in one small apartment, with piles of trash among the streets where they live in, and being a part of a community that's not really welcome in Egypt, and separated from their families. But they had a stunning level of devotion to God. Like, they were so faithful, and they were happy that we were there to give them food and pray over them. Their belief that God will provide is not just something that they say, it's something that they live every day. It forced me to look back at my own life of privilege and compare my faith to theirs. They had nothing, yet they have complete faith in God's vision. And I looked inside and asked myself, how desperate am I? How desperate is my own faith? I often feel very unprepared, but this experience brought a verse to mind that we went over in our daily devotionals, to lay aside our personal baggage and eagerly do the work that is set before us. It's from Acts 13:1. I truly believe that God set this path for me to serve. And the reason I was reflecting, and the reason I never really went to any mission trips is because my faith was like non-existent. Like, I did not believe in the Lord before. I was a Sunday Christian, went only with my family, and I only really wanted to go to mission trips to be with my friends, have fun, go explore new places when I was younger. And my dad always made me play in golf tournaments during the summer, so that was also kind of like all part of his plan. But I think this mission trip, this timing of it really allowed me to grow in my faith and learn who I am as a servant, and have that necessary knowledge and heart to serve others. Like Acts 13, it created an eager heart in me. After all of this, coming home, I realized my biggest change was perspective. Before the trip, I took so many of my blessings for granted, and my path toward a deeper faith had kind of subtly settled into the background, and I understand I need to change the way I think, be more grateful for every little thing, and like the refugees, I want to have the desperate, absolute faith and the belief that God will truly provide in any situation. I want to actively start taking into my or being in tune with my gratitude, and starting with my family, extending to those in church, and ultimately VIPs. I was super inspired by the Sudanese family being so faithful that I am committing to at least 30 minutes a day of prayer, because I think it's the least I could do to give back to God, who's provided so much for us, right? And I want to read the Bible a little bit more, because I think before I don't really have that much Bible knowledge, but because of Pastor Daniel's Living Life Bible studies, or all the other Bible studies, and then meeting Missionary Hudson, I learned a lot from the Bible, and I feel like I should continue that and be more eager to learn. So beyond all of these things, I think it was also a really great trip for team bonding. I think we became stronger through all of the challenges, and I was grateful to have all of great conversations with Sunmi, Jamie, and Jiwon. And I realized that Charles and Jason were actually kind of funny. I didn't know them that well, but I'm glad to have spent this time with them. And in the beginning, I wasn't really sure about the dynamic we would have, but throughout the trip, everyone had a great heart and a great God-visioned servant that helped make the hard work feel a lot lighter and the overall experience unforgettable. Being in Egypt and connecting with the people taught me that desperate faith is not about desperation for material things, obviously, but absolute desperation for God. My path is defined by purposeful action, deepening faith, and boundless grace and thankfulness. I'm thankful for my shepherd, Stephen, for being such a big support during this time, and talking with Hudson and planning out everything that, this whole outreach plan, and just overall being a great leader. I'm thankful for everyone who prayed and supported our trip to Egypt, and Pastor Daniel, who gave us this time, and Sunmi to go and have experienced this opportunity. Thank you.